Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. We are back home finally after we went all the way over to our quarry down here, and we finally built a big, beautiful house for our stone cutter. And look at that, we can see the pumpkins from the sky. This is actually a satellite that I launched into orbit. Yep, we can see everything as it is now. Got a rooftop garden there. I had a lot of fun with that build, and I'm looking forward to at least a few more in this world before 1.18 drops. Now today is going to be something a bit different than we've been doing recently. We haven't done a whole lot of adventuring lately, right? Well, today we're going to kind of fix that, because I have a project in mind for something I want to put probably right about there. I'm guessing. It could be somewhere else, but I'm thinking right about there. And for it, I need something very light colored, like white colored. And while we could certainly use some plaster, we don't have a ton of limestone. In fact, our only limestone is right here. A teeny tiny patch of limestone that I've already dug out a good chunk of it. And we've already used most of it, I think. We have some left. But this is for things like leather making and mortar and so on, and this really isn't a huge ton of lime. While we could go and see if there's enough there to make enough quicklime to make plaster, a long time ago, during our journey down here, if the map would stop lagging, right up here, we jumped into the water and we swam across in episode 69. Which we ended down right about here, was where we camped for the night, and that was where episode 69 ended. That was our first leg of the journey down here. But when we were up here, I was talking about this olive tree, and when I was editing the footage ever so long ago, I noticed that over here there was some kind of white rock hiding underneath the clay stone, and I think the conglomerate that's up here. And I want to go up there and investigate it today and see if it is chalk or limestone, or it could be halite. If it's halite, I'll be somewhat disappointed, but I could go for pink as well. Pink wouldn't be a bad option. And I would just use the stone halite to actually build this next project. I would prefer white though, and chalk or plaster is the way to go. So that is going to be today's episode. We are going to take a sort of partial journey back home. It's not actually that far. It looks like a huge journey, but this is probably, let's see, we are at 29,000. This is at 23,000. So a 5-kilometer journey, that's pretty hefty, but nothing we haven't done before. So to that end, I have packed a few things. We're going to bring a wooden chest in order to bring back any spoils, specifically any, well, limestone or salt or chalk. I'm also bringing along plenty of building materials because we're going to be here for probably at least a few in-game days, because I also would like to explore the ruins here and over here, because these are villages, and villages usually have some pretty good stuff. So we're going to spend some time right around this area. Hopefully it's temporarily stable. I guess we'll find out when we get there. I want to make sure that we're not living in a dirt hovel, because you all will yell at me again. So we're going to bring stuff to build us a little not quite dirt, but still hovel. We will have doors and windows, though. I'm also bringing along some wooden trunks so we can leave some stuff there if we need to, and all those fun accoutrements. The last thing I need is some food, and we'll be off. Okay, with everything we need in hand, literally, got my soybeans, let's get going. And while we're on our journey, I think I'll regale you with some more answers to your 20 questions. There's been a huge influx of questions lately, and I am looking forward to answering them. So, with that being said, let's get down to it. Our first question comes from Gorfenhofen, who is a repeat offender. How do you feel about the water mechanics in Vintage Story? There are things I like and dislike about it. I do love the flowing particles in water streams, and I like that the game gives realistic sound effects to it. A small flowing stream sounds like a trickle, and a high waterfall sounds like a rushing torrent. That being said, I feel like that other block game has better water physics from a gamification standpoint. It takes so much more effort to propagate water in Vintage Story, and if you're trying to make a pond or lake deeper than 1 or 2 blocks, good luck. I wish Vintage Story had the same system of, if an air block is adjacent to 2 water blocks on its sides, it converts to a water block too. It's really annoying to be digging around a shoreline or lake and have the water end up really weird and spotty, and it introduces performance issues too. Crone22 has 2 questions, and they ask, how are you liking the Rusty Gear series? It's fun. It's different. Being on a server is a completely different experience. I'm not sure I've completely hit my stride yet, because I've been doing the guide series for a whole year, and the pacing of the Rusty Gear series is a totally different animal. I am getting more comfortable with it as time goes on, and I'll be using it as an opportunity to experiment with new kinds of content and styles of presentation. Crone22's second question is, as a D&D player, have you ever heard of the Arduin Grimoire RPG system? Until today I hadn't. I did look it up, especially the history behind it. It seems like they had a few run-ins with TSR back in the day. Hexateran has a double header, and they ask, do you like cats? Of course! If you're asking this, it means it's probably been too long since I last featured Mew and Rex on the channel. In fact, the last time we saw both of them was when we were mining out our first iron vein. I haven't updated about that. In that episode, I said the picture was the last time they would ever snuggle together. Well, these 2 gremlins conspired to make a liar out of me. Look at this. Look at this criminal conspiracy over here. Little twerps. How dare they do cute things? Their second question is, why do you wear tailored gamboized armor all the time? I wear armor all the time because drifters, wolves, and bears are just a fact of life in Vintage Story, and all of them do significant damage if they hit you, even to low-level drifters. I wear the tailored gambeson specifically because it provides tier 2 armor, which means it's effective against everything up to wolves, but not bears, and it has the lowest drawbacks for wearing it when compared to the protection it offers. It's just great everyday wear. I do wish there was an option to make it less visible or transparent, or maybe the option to wear some livery on top of it. Pineberry212 asks, what are your thoughts on mods that focus on metal reclamation and recycling from broken tools and forging? I definitely appreciate the desire to get more bang for your buck out of your effort in this game. Vintage Story is, after all, supremely grindy, and automation options are work-intensive and uncommon. That being said, the game is built around a cycle and balance where one ingot provides a certain amount of functionality before you need to go and get the next one. While I might be interested in using a material reclamation mod when playing privately, I think for the guide and other series that may come up, I don't want to alter the balance of the game too much. Making chisel blocks easier to create is one thing, they don't do anything other than look pretty, but a mod that gives me back 50 to 90% of the steel that goes into a pickaxe completely upends the balance of the game. Oaktree asks, do you have a preferred beverage while playing? Does that preference vary depending on the game or activity in the game? It does vary. Typically when recording, I like to stick to decaf or herbal tea, or decaf coffee, or maybe even just water. I usually record at night, so I don't want to throw off my sleep schedule with something stronger. When I'm just playing between episodes to gather materials, or when I'm editing, I might pour a nightcap. Sometimes scotch, sometimes absinthe. Ooh, I've done it now. I've dated myself. I'm over 21, you all know now. Tomina Duncan asks, how many colors do Feverstone's horses come in? How many have you collected? When are you going to start working with them? Are you going to build a stable and paddock for them? To be honest, I know very little about Feverstone's horses, except that while it is a very detailed mod, the amount of upkeep that the horses require turns me off. Vintage Story is already a very grindy game, as I mentioned earlier in this segment, and the horses require a lot of time to tame. This would be fine if that was the end of it, but they also have an obedience level, and that obedience level decays over time, so you have to constantly keep training them if you want them to be useful. Sure, you can edit the mod parameters to remove the obedience decay, but in a game where there are tons of holes that lead straight to the bottom of the world, I'm not sure I want to risk losing an animal that I spent hours training just because they can't turn or stop fast enough to plunge to their death suddenly. Sorry, but I'm unlikely to do much with the horses unless and until the terrain generation becomes significantly less lethal and the mod itself less grindy. LSF Prepper has 2 questions, and they ask, as an author, do you have any published works, and what genre are they? I do. I have self-published 2 novels, though one of them was published when I was a kid. I've since pulled that one from the publisher, but it's still, regrettably, possible to find out there. My writing is about 98% fantasy and 2% science fiction, and I haven't published any sci-fi. My remaining published novel is somewhat unique in that it's non-fiction fantasy, as I call it. I wrote it kind of in response to a lot of people asking what Dungeons & Dragons was like. So, I chronicled an entire campaign from start to finish, with some out-of-game scenes written from my own perspective, but with the bulk of the book written from the perspective of the in-game characters and told like a novel. Elsa Prepper's second question is, who are some of your favorite authors? My writing tastes follow my reading tastes pretty closely, so my favorite authors also publish mostly fantasy. Some of my favorites are Jim Butcher, Brandon Sanderson, Sarah Ashe, Anne Bishop, and Brian Jacques when I'm in the mood for a throwback to Redwall. Cyber Robin asks, regarding stories and writing, are you a world builder, a character creator, or a plot plotter? That's a tough one, because to write a good novel, you need aspects of all three of these at play in your work. That being said, I think in order of preference and ability, I'm probably a character creator first, a plot plotter second, and a world builder in a close third, maybe even tied for second. I put the plot and world after characters because I love designing characters, their personalities, their whims and strengths and foibles, and then I love releasing them into the world in a book and watching them grow. Sometimes you write a chapter and a character does something new, something you didn't expect because you put them in a room with a character that says or does something, and you hadn't really thought about how the first character would react to that. Even though they're my babies, they still surprise me sometimes. Plot and world come second for me because what is the plot other than how the characters react to stimuli? As much as I love world building, I am a veteran dungeon master after all, I purposely make it take a backseat because a lot of inexperienced writers, and even some big and famous ones, get so lost in building a vibrant world that they forget to create vibrant characters. Or, even if they do have great characters, their settings chew the scenery instead of the characters. I just don't enjoy reading pages and pages of text about the spread on a table, and how the bread was made from grain grown in the distant highlands and mixed with baking soda from the east coast, and how you can still taste the scent of the mystic springs and the grapes used in that rare wine. If those details aren't relevant to understanding some aspect of the story or of a character, I don't want multiple paragraphs about it. Just give one or two well-written sentences about a few parts of the spread, and trust that I, the reader, will fill in the rest. Some authors spend way too much time describing these insignificant details, instead of picking out which details matter, and using them to advance the plot or show another facet of a character. JB asks, what are your opinions on the state of the other block game? You know, I really haven't played much Portal Knights, so I don't really have strong opinions either way. Okay, just kidding. Honestly, I think it's heading in an interesting direction. It's in a state of flux right now, which is kind of what it's always in, and that can be uncomfortable. They're adding new features that weren't in the game before, so to experience those things we're going to need to make new worlds, or venture a long way from home. Losing your builds is a bad feeling, and the effort to import those builds to a new world doesn't always make sense or is just plain unfun. Trust me, I've done it several times. That being said, while I haven't played the other block game for any great length of time in over a year, I'm excited to see where it goes, and I might pick it back up for a while, maybe in between big releases, or maybe when it seems that developers are winding down large changes and looking at releasing the, quote, final version. That could be 2, 5, 10, or 20 years from now. Who knows? Leon Oliveira asks, what are those teleport blocks that are at the center of the Rusty Gears Community Center? Are they from a mod? Those are actually from the vanilla game. They are the creative mode teleporters. While they can only be acquired from the creative menu, if you give yourself a stack of them, and then switch back to survival mode, you can place, break, and configure the teleporters to link up to each other. Wired Man and Scarlet's channels both asked the same question. Will you be starting a new world for Vintage Story 1.18? I haven't fully committed to it just yet, but if we do cover 1.18 in a full series, then I think in order to experience it fully, we would need to start fresh in a new world. My understanding is that there are certain features that only spawn once per world in 1.18, and if the designated spawn area for that feature happens to fall in a place we've already explored in our current world, then we would miss out on that feature entirely. There's also the issue of chunk borders most likely being really gnarly, where old generation meets new. While that could make for interesting landforms, I think it would mostly be a distraction, especially if Tyrant and the dev team don't have a chance to implement any terrain smoothing features at those seams. On top of that, it might be nice to explore the early game again in light of the new mechanics and features that we didn't have access to in the first season of the guide, as well as to possibly try a different style of play and new building methods and designs. Also, the save file for the first guide season is over 5 gigabytes, which isn't huge until you realize that I have kept all of the backups, and I back up the world after each episode, except for a few where I forgot. It's like having an entire second video archive eating up hard drive space. Lainey asks, how did you learn video editing? And what software do you currently use? Do you have any tips you can recommend to a beginner for editing vintage story footage? I taught myself how to use Shotcut, a freeware video editor you can download from shotcut.org. I'm generally a power user when it comes to computers, so teaching myself via Google searches, reading their forums and related Reddit posts, and some good old trial and error are my preferred methods of learning. The best tips I can offer actually have little to nothing to do with editing. That's because the best way to avoid frustration during editing is to get your recordings right the first time. But here are a few of the biggest things I think you can do to help yourself get started. 1. Unless you're doing just a raw let's play with no editing, plan each episode out so you know where you're going. 2. Only record things you want to show your audience. You do not want to be sifting through 5 to 8 hours of recordings every episode, unless you like that kind of pain. 3. Test your setup. Before you do any recording for YouTube, test all your settings. Make sure your voice can be heard over the game audio and any music you might add, make sure your video is nice and smooth, and so on. 4. For video styles with lots of cuts, play with the music off. The jumps in music can be really annoying to some people. I learned this partway through the Vintage Story Guide when people started yelling at me. 5. Record your game audio and microphone to separate audio tracks of the same video file. This way you can edit each of them separately. This is especially important if one of the tracks ends up too loud or too quiet, or has other noises you need to edit out. It also helps if one track needs to have some other audio effects applied to it without distorting the other track. 6. Get to know what the various buttons do in your video editor, in my case Shotcut, such as rippling tracks, rippling all tracks, track locking, and so on. This will happen over time of course, but a little playing around with it before you start working on your real projects may help. Last, number 7, start simple and give yourself grace and time to learn. My earliest guide series episodes were quite simple on a technical level. As I got more comfortable with Shotcut's capabilities, as well as how different styles affected the time I spent editing, I tried different effects and tweaks, and now I have a particular style down for the guide series. Poppersnot has 2 questions, and they ask, what are you most excited about in the 1.18 update? This is a tough one. On the one hand, all the new blocks will be an absolute blast to build with. On the other, I'm also really excited about the new dialogue mechanics and the story that Dauron is beginning to tell using it. I won't spoil anything right now, but there is a story quest to follow with a unique reward at the end. Their second question is, what feature, mechanic, or other thing would you most like to see added to Vintage Story? I kind of talked about this before, but it's been a long time. Basically, the biggest thing I want to see is better integration of the temporal stability and storm elements. Right now, stability, storms, and rifts are things that players basically either avoid or farm. There isn't an impetus to seek out temporally unstable areas, and the best thing to do when you find one is to leave, unless there just so happens to be some resource there that you really need. I think there should be resources or events that only happen in areas of low stability, and I don't just mean deep underground. I also think it would be a hoot if players with high temporal stability could not see or interact with, nor be interacted with, drifters that spawn due to a different player's low temporal stability, and maybe players with low stability might see other players as drifters, or worse. Well folks, here we are, and look at that. I think that is chalk, but here is, oh hey! We have some olives here we can munch on while we are in the area. Now before we get too excited and set down too many roots, let's go take a look and just make sure that it is in fact chalk. Which I think it is. This is the first time we have seen chalk in this world, because it has eluded us so far, even up in the north. Yes, look at that. Is that not beautiful? I especially like chalk because it is just more textured than the plaster is. And while the plaster is great for certain things, the chalk just looks a little more... it has more character, if you will. Let's get down here, and let's go set up camp. And I'm thinking it might just be at the top of this little hill here. We'll build a tiny little house, maybe dig out some of this dirt right next to these trees, or maybe even back here a little bit. Ooh, no. On top of that one. But yeah, let's get started on that and get our little house in here. And here we have our little modern lean-to style house. Very simple, very quick. This took maybe, what, 8 minutes to put together? I did have to go and grab a walnut tree from over here because I didn't bring enough acacia for both the pillars and the roof. And I didn't really look at how big the tree was, but we have some walnut left over. Whoopsie. But yeah, I like how it's turned out. I think it's cute. When I do these kind of little builds, I like to have a stone foundation that kind of is a full block and then build the walls out of half blocks. That way you get this nice little sort of rim around the place so the dirt doesn't just go right up to the walls, even though it goes to the posts. And then over here, outside the doors, I put a little patio just so that we can have space to, you know, keep our feet dry and maybe, you know, set things down, set our grocery bags down after we go to the Drifter Mart. But yeah, I think what I want to do now is before we go and tackle the chalk over there, let's go take a look at this little village here and this one here. Now this village over here, it probably doesn't include this structure here because once you get used to the structures that generate, you know which ones belong to villages and which ones don't. So this one here isn't going to be anything out of the ordinary, whereas these are likely to have basements and such. So let's go take a look. Alright, what have we here? The remains of a small house, perhaps? Let's dig under here and see what we find. Nothing. Oh, here we go. A forage vessel. Oh, be still my beating heart. Oh, grass and reeds. Oh, thank you. Tell you what, I am ecologically minded. I'm going to go ahead and recycle those right now. And let's see, this is a little bit bigger, so let's dig around a bit. Nothing underground, but we do have a second forage vessel. Ooh, oh boy. You know what, that's actually kind of handy. We could make some string out of you, and if we wanted to, we could make a bucket. We'll toss the rest of you, though. Now, what is over here? We have the remains of a little smithy. Ooh, with galena. Don't mind if I do. Now, these typically have something right under here. Yep, look at that. Moorage, forage. That's my favorite. And then over here we have something else. More ore. Copper this time. Less valuable than the galena, but I'll take it for now. I don't recall these little sort of corner bits having any kind of basement. And then one more building over here. Ooh, you are buried. What do we have here? A forage vessel yet again. Alright. What was that? Sticks and stones. Breaking my bones. And one more forage vessel, I'll bet. Yep. The poultices and sticks. I'll take the sticks. I go through those pretty quickly. But I think this is also a bust for a basement. Ooh, maybe I spoke too soon. What do we got here? Oh. I should go check the other one too, just in case. May have missed something. An owl chest. Ooh. Oh, we have some cool stuff here. Mortgage, forage, and junk metal. Oh man, okay. Well, this is different. Let's smash you with our hands. Sticks and stones. Grass and stones. Let's check out these scrolls. Ooh. Blind Bat Rickert, part 6 of 8. Okay. And nothing new in these. Okay, cool. We got a gold waist chain. That's pretty cool. And we got an owl chest. Very fun. Let's go back over here and check this one out, because maybe I missed the center of this. I did not... Oop. Whoopsie. I indeed did not dig the center out. Okay, let's try it. Uh-oh. Corazar almost missed something here. Yeah, look at that. Another owl chest. Okay. Cool stuff. And you have a silver bracelet. I'm going to guess that you go where our belt goes. Oh, it does. Neat. Now that is some serious bling. Oh, man. But I think we can do this and grab you. And there's probably nothing in you. Nope, don't care about you. Bee-nades. Okay. Well, that was pretty cool. Let's go drop this stuff off, and then I'll probably sort of just dither about for the evening. And then tomorrow, we'll go on a longer trek over to here and dig out these guys and see what's there. Alright everyone, let's head out. It's the next morning, and it was a very active night. And you're going to laugh at this one. But we got another temporal gear. So yes, the game is definitely telling us it is time to go and check out that TL right under the base. So I think we'll do that very soon. Not this episode, but very soon. But let's go, and I'll meet you over at the other ruin there. And let's go see what's there. I kind of forgot to bring any permanent light sources for our little hovel here. So I was kind of hoping that maybe while we're at this place we could scare up a couple, even just one of the ancient or aged torch holders. I think that'd be pretty nice. Seashell. Seashell. No? Oh. And how about here? Let's take a tippery tap or a diggery do, shall we? Alright, I'll stop with the dewy things now, I swear. We have forage. Full of junk. More forage. Full of more junk. A lone vessel. Don't mind if I do. And an aged bed. And, oh, there's a ore vessel. Oh, really? Oh, hey, look at that. Don't mind if I do. Or I just take you, actually. Can I? I can. Ore vessel. Ooh, black coal. I'll take that. Why not? What are you? You are some kind of forage vessel with more junk. Alright. What do you hold? A lot of this stuff. Okay. More forage. Forage and storage. Kablooey. As I recall, nothing through these walls. Okay. And last but not least over here we have... Oh, one of the little sort of... Oh, there's another one here. Okay. We have one extra ruin we'll check out here. Good to know. I think this is one of the smithies. Somewhere. Here. Oh, this is this one. Okay. I mean, sure. Let's see, where were you? You were over here, weren't you? Yes. Here we go. Not sure what this is. This looks like one of the corner ones. So we'll see. Oh, yep. Here we go, an ore vessel. Ooh, more black coal. Don't mind if I do. And let's see... Is there anything under here? Oh, nope, just water. Just plenty of water. Okay. Ah, here we go. The treasure we came for. A turquoise conch. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, game, you spoil me. You spoil me, and there's so much beach here to search. Oh, how can I resist? How can I resist? Especially when you leave these laying around for me with my inventory full. Get, 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 get. Get this riffraff out of here. Make room for treasure. All this beach. 2 seashells. I've been cheated. Okay, well, I'm going to pack up and we'll head back to our little hovel. And I guess we'll just keep replacing our torches every here and there just to make sure they don't burn out. And then we'll get to the main purpose for being here, which is quarrying out some of that chalk. And I'll show you what I'm going to do. Because we're using the new, well, new to me anyway, QP Tech chisel tools, we don't actually need to quarry the blocks out. Now I am still going to quarry some of that, just to have it. I'm not really sure why. Maybe to make some bricks out of in the future. But what we can do is, for the most part, we can just use the chisel and hammer and turn them into chiseled blocks, and then mine them that way. And we can do that because the QP Chisel Tech tool allows you to actually use pre-chiseled blocks. In fact, requires you to use them when you are copying blocks, unlike the Workbench Extended. So that is the plan, and I'm going to go ahead and not fall into here. Maybe I will, on purpose this time. Boring. Only flint. Well, anyway, that was that. I'm going to go ahead and get going, and I'll see you all in just a few minutes. Alright everyone, we are here. So let's get started with what we're doing here. And this is really weird land. I mean, this is a very, very tall spike. So I don't know if we're going to find chalk, like deep underground, or if it's going to all be compressed. It depends how thick or thin this chalk layer is. If it's really thin, then you might end up with a weird situation where there just isn't any down there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to swap out this, put our lantern there, and we're going to, well, we'll tap you two, and then pick you up. Like so. Oh hey, look at that. And then we will just do the same thing, and we'll do the same pattern that we normally do when we are quarrying blocks, except that the blocks that we would normally break into little pieces, we're going to break into full-on actual blocks. So that is the goal here. And that is basically the entire reason why we're here, because I want a whole bunch of these chalk rock blocks, because they just make a very, very nice pseudo-plaster. Oh, ooh. Ooh, yeah, this is going to be real funky. Oh, it's so weird. I hate it, kinda. Yeah, this might turn into more of a, we're just going to use the cheesy method of getting as much chalk as we can. I see a few blocks in the distance really high up over there. This is going to be really, really hairy. Well, I'll see what I can do, and I won't make you sit through me hemming and hawing about getting all these blocks out of here, but I just wanted to show you where we're going and what we're doing and how we're going to do it. So I'm going to get down to it, and I'll see all of you on the other side of this operation here. Okay everyone, rise and shine. It actually didn't take very long, but we got 4 stacks of chalk rock and 14. These are all the chiseled versions. And then down here we have a stack and 14, kind of weird coincidence, of the actual stone. Now this should be all that I need for the project that I have in mind. Hopefully. I mean, I don't want to come back here. But yeah, I wanted to show you just sort of how weird the formation was here. Let's get over to our little mine, or our quarry. So here is the general shape of our little quarry here. And this was just generally not fun to navigate. So once it got down to like weird like 2 and 3 block tall areas down here, it kind of gave up. And the same over here where it suddenly dropped like 5 blocks. There's chalk like 5 blocks below this one right here. and I figured it was too weird. So I do kind of wonder if this area, I think, was generated during a version of 1.17 where Dauron had said that there was a bug in how, like, the stone and land generate. And, ooh, spooky. Okay, not spooky, just weird lighting glitch. And, oh, hello. And I wonder if this was generated during that time. Ooh, stalactites. What do we have here? Friends? Yeah, and see, here's like a really thin area of chalk here, and then like right here. So this is just not a whole lot. Ooh. Hello. Well, okay. Yeah. I'm here for this. This is a wild one, so it's like a... Wow. Okay. This generated like as part of this other whole thing over here. That is really cool. Anyway, I guess that temporal gear was telling us something else. Look at this. These are both empty. Empty. I mean, I'm gonna help myself here, you know? If you don't stop me. No one's stopping me. I guess I'm helping myself then, aren't I? Ooh, spelt seeds. Quirky Tavern, copper arrows. Money. I'll take that. Well, this is an interesting little find. Too bad it's so far from home. I mean, yeah, I will probably come up here and we'll activate it at some point. And with any luck, it might take us north. North could be interesting because we have a whole bunch of traders and such that we haven't really visited. Places we skipped on the way here. Ooh, and a medium temporal storm. Oh, we gotta get going then. We gotta get going. Because I want to try out our new... Oh, we're not gonna make it. We're way too far from home. I still haven't had a chance to try out our revamped drifter pit over here. So that's gonna be fun. I guess we will just hunker down here and hope for the best. But yes, so I'm going to go ahead and bundle all this home. I will hunker down and weather the storm here. And then I will see all of you in the next episode, where we will be activating a translocator or two. I think we have 4 or 5 gears now with this one that we have over there. But I don't think we'll be able to do both. So yeah. Well, everyone, that is about all the time we have for this episode of the Vintage Story Guide. I hope you enjoyed the 20 questions segment as we made our way here, as well as the exploration in those ruins, and that nice little find at the end. I hope you're looking forward to what we're going to do with this chalk rock. I know I'm excited for it. So let's get to it. As always, my name has been Quarrying. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.